No one cares about the truth, so I'm going to say that the reason you're seeing surges of 100,000 votes for Biden in Michigan or any other state is because the Republicans arranged that way so it could look suspicious. Because they were told that's what was going to happen if they tried to make it to where different people had different standards for voting and having them collected and counted. If you live in a poor area, doesn't matter who's there, just a poor area, or an area that has a lot of Democrats or a lot of Republicans, depending on where you are, you'll be treated differently. It may be to your advantage or disadvantage. Even if you're not part of the group that it was supposed to affect, because the entire demographic grouping has changed over the years since the last time we had a census. Some poor areas got taken over by rich people and they didn't like the effect. So let's see what happens. Depending on what state you are, or county, or district, or even the city, the votes in your area are being collected by some protocol or procedure or prioritization. Same thing with delivery through the U.S. mail system. The U.S. mail system was sabotaged by a Trump appointee to make sure things didn't work the same way. Not worse or better, just different. You don't have to destroy a system. You just have to change how it works and not let anybody be able to play catch up. Oh, and by the way, reducing the amount of people being able to do it. And what happens immediately after you do that, so you look better? You tell them, on your honor, because I'm not taking the blame, I'm going to blame you if you don't count every vote. So what are you going to do as an underpaid, going postal worker sitting there saying, they're going to blame us if we don't get all the votes in as fast as possible? We're not going to follow their instructions. We're just going to get them there as fast as we can while we're undermanned. What they do is they go into Christmas package mode or Christmas letter mode, otherwise known as World War II U.S. Postal System delivery mode. By any means necessary, I will deliver these things by a priority. It's called triage method. So what happened is a bunch of votes were sent faster because they were having trouble collecting them. So they collected them and immediately sent them, or they collected them all day and sent them in bunches each day. These then went to a central location like they're supposed to, bundled, not separated, but from a location, so they could say, oh, this is from the district. And depending on what the election commission's rules are or what they were ordered to do, they counted certain areas faster because they're larger populations, or they counted them first because they're the location that screams the most. Depending on where you are, the prioritization will be dump out that bag first. I don't care if it's smaller or bigger than all of them. Triage stops where politics begin. People were told not to do mail-in ballots, or at least not do them early for some reason, because that's not patriotic. Other people defiantly did them earlier because they're allowed to. Some places made it to where the only way you could get your ballot seen was to mail it. And it's one notch short of a provisional ballot. It's treated very similarly, which means it's going to have a delay to it. Or it'll be lower priority because traditionally they are. You're not supposed to do that. If you make it to where there's only one voting booth or one voting box, ballot box, per county, and the big counties with the majority of people in them who traditionally go Democrat instead of Republican, you're making it to where they all have to cram it in there. They put it until it's full, and then they wait till the next day when everybody empties it out, and they pack it full again because they're trying to vote, and you're trying not to let them vote. And you know what happened? People were aware of it and had registered to vote in mass. This is one of the, if not the largest turnouts in history, because people defiantly, very American behavior, decided they were going to vote and be counted deliberately because someone was trying to slow them down. But I'm in a Republican state, and did you see slowdowns in some kinds of deliveries but not others? Well, people can just vote in person. You limited the number of voting places. One voting place per 10,000 people for a day happened. Well, they can just mail them. But you don't want them to mail them in. Remember, there's an envelope box in many cities on every street corner. There's only one voting booth per county. Other places, they went out of their way to make sure that they didn't create this backlog. But what happened is an entire city saw, oh, there's a bunch of places to vote. I'll vote day of, because the president said, don't only vote in person. Don't mail it in. So they showed up, and there's a surge of votes that would be interpreted as late. Some places prioritized those votes showing up, and some prioritized others. Now that's the general answer for why am I seeing over 9,000 votes for one person. The other thing is some of them will do them in batches by saying, We're separating the votes that look like they're going Biden or Trump. Okay, well, that means that one bundle will be bigger than the other, and it'll be sent off to this table over here so that there's a double blindness so that I can't affect that person's judgment. They go through one at a time, and they just check whether or not they get any of them that are in the wrong order. Okay, that's a Trump vote, it goes over here. And the other one, oh, it's a Biden vote in the Trump pile, put it over here. And then they swap that pile around so that's all Trump and all Biden. Then they count them. Other places just do a running tally. Which one do you think is easier? And whichever one is larger will take longer, so you see the minority vote showing up first. Other places, they'll put two people on the big pile so it can get done. It gets done faster, so they come up with that tally and then double check each other, but they do get the thing done. So one type will come up first and then the other. In some states, it showed, well, there's a big rush of votes only for Trump or Biden, and then the other way around a little while later. Gee, I wonder why. Other places, they just restricted access so much to any place that looked like Democrats or Republicans would be there. You get a surge of one or the other. You can see examples of this in every state. Yes, both sides. But primarily, the largest number of delayed surges you find are Democrat. That's what you're dealing with. But those are votes that shouldn't be counted. They were delivered on time into the system. The system has to count them when they can get to them. This bog down that's taking how many fucking days is the fault of everybody involved, not just one side or another. Primarily, I'm blaming Republicans because it's an easy thing to do and it's a meme. But really, it is everybody, including you and me. A lot of us were lazy. I did a provisional ballot and all that kind of shit with what paperwork I've got to work with. And okay, I'm good. That's it. Can I solve this? No. Now, there is a specific case, and there's probably more than one case like this, where someone looked at an unofficial vote for a state or county or city or district. There's dozens and dozens of them per state, right? Right. Okay. Except for a couple of states only have two, which is weird. But anyway, someone looked at the unofficial count and it was wrong. And somehow that means something. It says unofficial on the top of the page in the title, and warning, this is an unofficial count. It isn't considered accurate. It has to be double checked. And the unofficial count was wrong. And the sky is blue and snozberries taste like snozberries. The point here, very simply, that's why it's called an unofficial fucking vote. Anyway, what happened in Michigan with 100,000 votes specifically was someone had the votes and was sending it off to the last stage where it's confirmed by checking their numbers just to make sure the math is good. And the next person checks to make sure the ratios are correct so they can come up with, very simply, percentage of this pile, number in this pile, and then collated, what is the pile for the state. Now remember, if two counties are dumping this information, they're going to be calculating percentages for the state that are wrong. So they just dump the information and let the state or whoever it is handle it, Secretary of State or whatever. But in this case, one of them made up a unofficial number they just posted to the website really quickly and then fed it off to someone else to correct it. And it was wrong by 10 to 1 because they hit 0 an extra time. Have you ever worked at a cash register? Are you used to hitting the number pad? Are you used to hitting the double zero or single zero? Are you supposed to hit a 0 after you type out a whole number? No. But if you are like me and got yelled at 4 times in one day for typing in a $1 purchase as 1 cent, you know what I'm talking about. Someone hit the button wrong. In one case that's been confirmed in Michigan. And this was double checked. But that's on the New York Times page. No, the New York Times is one of many locations that contacted the same people and got the same answer. A consistent answer. Well, that's part of conspiracy. And that location just basically said, yeah, one of our people hit the wrong button for doing the final count, but it's on the unofficial page. It was corrected later. That's why it's an unofficial page. This is the 3rd time in the last 24 hours someone told me about an unofficial count being wrong. Surprised Pikachu face. So that's basically it. Now I'm going to come up with a conspiracy theory. Maybe the Republicans deliberately rigged the election to where it just be broken enough to where it create these anomalies and make people question things. I don't know or care. Anyway, if anybody's curious about it, I'll link to the New York Times story, but this has been happening repeatedly. There's probably 100 examples of this. Stop using the unofficial counts and you won't have unofficial wrong numbers. The official counts are already boinky enough. Why deliberately? Oh, some people chose to look that up that way. Well, no. The person who specifically the 138,000 votes in Michigan or whatever the number is, I'll use it in the title, said he noticed it on the unofficial count page, and then 20 minutes later didn't know they'd corrected it. It was wrong for 20 stinking minutes. This is the bread and butter of the UFO crowd. Look for an unstable data source and keep citing it as an anomaly. No, I'm not kidding. It's like people looking up raw images of the solar system with a big ray of light going through it, and then you find out that that's because of a data glitch and it was removed in the data processing. But you're looking at the raw images. Yeah, it's not Nibiru or Batman. It's the computer hiccuped. That happens all the time. It's a radio signal sent back to the Earth. It might have some errors once in a while. That's really kind of how it works. So anyway, to review, every single county and state, district, city, and in some cases political campaign. We won't get into the differences between Democrats and Republicans running their caucuses or caucuses. But every group does the count in a slightly different way of prioritizing it because they have to do it some way in some order. They can't just count them as they come in necessarily. Even that is problematic, number one. Number two, if you're judging some other place and you don't know what you're talking about, you're going to see lots of anomalies. Number three, they were all told to do something different this year because a bunch of politicians decided to fuck with the electors and the elections. You and I are the electors, by the way. They decided to mess with people who were trying to vote on purpose because they noticed people in mass registering to vote. They tried to invalidate their registrations. They tried to remove them. They tried to do purges. They were overt about it because if there's a lower count, that makes every vote count. And they never purge anybody who hasn't voted, who's been voting for years and years. They only purge the ones that are new or people who just moved into the county. It's a way of excluding people. And if you believe otherwise, you're a fool. All right? By the way, lots of Republicans got purged and didn't know about it. And next thing is, yes, people make mistakes when they type things in, and you shouldn't use unofficial counts. I even had one person say, well, it's on the official website. Yeah, but the official website, when you click on more information about their official count, it points you to a page that doesn't get updated more than twice a day. They didn't think we'd have this problem, so it doesn't update itself. They don't bother updating the backup page. That's really what it is. The main page that shows you the official count for the state or the county or whatever should be relied on. And then someone even found one that's not even reliable there because it only updates once or twice a day. After the election's over with, the Python script or whatever it's running is not programmed to update. It's just sitting there with 2-day-old numbers on it now. It's a broken website. Eventually, even the person complaining about it stopped asking. But this official count, it says at the top of the page, it's an unofficial count. It's not the official count. And it does bug me that those exist. So here's a solution to solve this. So we didn't waste 15 minutes of your time entirely. Make it illegal in every state to post an unofficial account. But I need my Bigfoot videos. No, no more unofficial postings. That's it. Let them double check things. Next, make every single state use the same collection pattern. Post the numbers as they finish counting them per bundle. And each bundle has to tell you what county it's from or city it's from. All this demographic stuff has to be done. And make them post the total count first from the number of votes they've got. And then the number for one and one for the other. And then the diddle in the middle is for people who voted for Mickey Mouse. In that order. And have them separate it by a couple of minutes. So people get used to hearing all the votes for Biden. All the votes for Trump. Yeah, because they separate them. Everybody follow a standard that you're going to do that. Whoever's leading gets the first votes pumped out. Oh, well, if we're telling you about Biden, he's leading. If we tell you about Trump, then he's leading. Some standard. So everybody sees the same thing so that something unusual doesn't even exist anymore. All the residents in these areas are used to this because they had to go through it already in many cases. Not all, but many. And everybody who's evaluating these things and seeing anomalies aren't from the area. That's about it. Do you live in that part of Michigan? Then we can't evaluate it with you. Ask a person in Michigan. And that's about it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. But I'll just put some links below. Bye.